Hello and welcome to today's History of True Crime video about the violent British criminal Charles Bronson. Born Michael Gordon Peterson, he was a British criminal and media personality who gained notoriety in the United Kingdom and abroad for his numerous prison sentences and acts of violence. He is also known for his numerous hunger strikes and attempts to escape from prison. Bronson was often referred to as the most violent prisoner in Britain and the British Tony Soprano. Bronson was born in Luton, England in 1952. He was raised in a working-class family and had a difficult childhood. He was a troubled youth and was frequently involved in fights and criminal activities. Bronson's first taste of prison was when he was first arrested at the age of 14 for stealing from a local market and spent time in juvenile detention. After leaving school, Bronson worked a series of odd jobs, but he continued to get into trouble with the law. He was arrested several times for various crimes, including robbery and assault. In 1974, he was sentenced to 7 years in prison for an armed robbery. It was while in prison, Bronson began weightlifting and bodybuilding and became known for his physical strength and discipline. This would become a defining aspect of his image and character and how many of us picture him today. He quickly gained a reputation for being a troublemaker and was often involved in fights with other inmates and guards. In 1975, he took hostages during a failed escape attempt from HMP Hull, for which he was given an additional 7 years behind bars. He has continued to be involved in incidents of violence and hostage-taking during his time in prison, including taking hostages during another failed escape attempt in 1983. After his release in 1975, Bronson returned to a life of crime and violence. He was arrested multiple times and was sentenced to a total of over 30 years. Bronson became known for his aggressive behavior and acts of violence towards prison staff and other inmates. He was involved in multiple prison riots and took several hostages throughout his time in prison. He was also known for making outrageous demands of the prison staff and officials, which often resulted in him being placed in solitary confinement. Bronson developed a reputation during his time in jail as a ruthless and violent criminal, and certainly lived up to his nickname, the most violent prisoner in Britain. Throughout his incarceration, Bronson has been involved in multiple hunger strikes, which he used as a means of protesting his treatment by the prison system. He has also been placed in solitary confinement for extended periods of time as a result of his violent behavior. In November 1988, he was transferred to Broadmoor Hospital, a high-security psychiatric hospital in England, where he was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. He was later transferred back to prison, and many times the courts tried to release him, but shockingly, Bronson refused to leave without a full pardon. One of the most famous incidents during his time in prison was his hostage drama at HMP Hull in 1999. The incident began on January 9th, when Bronson took prison art teacher Phil Danielson hostage in a classroom, armed with 2 improvised knives. He held Danielson hostage for 44 hours, demanding to speak with the Home Secretary and to be transferred to a different prison. During the standoff, Bronson made various demands, including a helicopter, a can of lager, and a pack of cigarettes, which were all denied. The incident ended on January 11th, when Bronson released his hostage unharmed and surrendered to police. He was subsequently charged with kidnapping and causing grievous bodily harm, and was given a life sentence. The event received widespread coverage in the media and was seen as a significant incident of violence within the British prison system. Bronson's criminal career and time in prison have been well documented in the media, and he has also written several books about his experiences, despite his reputation for violence and instability. He has also been described as a performance artist and a figure many looked up to. Despite his violent behavior, Bronson developed a cult following among some members of the public who saw him as a Robin Hood-like figure and a symbol of resistance against an unjust legal system. He wrote poetry, illustrated drawings, and began an art career. His artworks were sold for thousands of pounds. In spite of his reputation, Bronson also had a certain degree of public support, particularly from those who admired his physical strength and discipline. Many looked up to his nonconformist persona. In 1999, after spending 24 years in prison, Bronson changed his name to Charles Salvador in an effort to distance himself from his violent past and start fresh. He spent more than 44 years in prison throughout his life, spending more than 37 years in solitary confinement, the longest in British history. His popularity and following among his admirers translates to the success of his autobiography, Bronson, which was published in 1999 and was also made into a feature film in 2008, starring Thomas Hardy. Bronson was finally released on parole in August 2018. After being granted parole, Bronson was required to live in a hostel for 6 months, where he was monitored and received support to help him adjust to life outside of prison. The decision to release him was met with some controversy, as some members of the public and victims groups raised concerns about his violent past and the risk he may pose to society. However, it was reported that Bronson was not fully released. He was still under monitoring and some conditions were applied on him, thus not considered a full release as he still posed risk to society, and his behavior and actions were still under scrutiny. In recent years, Bronson's health has deteriorated. He was diagnosed with multiple health issues like diabetes and age-related macular degeneration. He was transferred to a hospital after suffering a severe heart attack in 2018 and later died on January 11, 2020. Bronson's life and legacy continue to be the subject of controversy. On one hand, many people see him as a violent criminal who has caused harm to both individuals and the justice system. On the other hand, there are those who see him as a victim of an unjust legal system who was mistreated and abused by the state. Despite his reputation as a ruthless criminal, many people admired his resilience, courage, and his artistic talents. In conclusion, Charles Bronson was an infamous British criminal who gained notoriety for his numerous prison sentences and acts of violence. His story is one of a man who, despite his violent and criminal behavior, managed to find a purpose and meaning in life through his art and writing, and who, to some, became a symbol of resistance against an unjust legal system. Charles Bronson's story is a complex one, and his legacy will be remembered in different ways by different people. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like and subscribe button, and do please share with your friends. Please drop your comments below on any future true crime stories you would love to learn more about and any suggestions for our next video. Subscribe to be in the loop and stay in the know for when our next video drops. And don't forget to check out our #1 resource in the description below. Thank you.